Hi guys, this is Tyler with Discover Recovery. I just want to make this short video or long lecture, quick movie maybe even, on don't do drugs. So I have a lot of experience in doing drugs and also not doing drugs. I started doing drugs when I was about 13, going into high school. I started smoking marijuana, cigars, started drinking alcohol. My first time in the seventh grade, so I was about 12. And from there, just sex, drugs, and rock and roll basically would endure in my life up until 2012 when I really started seeking help through what is called the rooms or Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, things of that nature for drug addiction. In the rooms, alcohol is considered a drug. I do think that is I know that it's a drug because of the allergic reaction that it gives in my body, the mental obsession. So when I start drinking, I start becoming mentally obsessed with drinking. I just want more and more of it, almost like I want to challenge myself with it. I want to just overall get drunk. So anything, whether it's food or smokes, can make me just want to continually drink. So that is why I know alcohol is a drug as well. And I don't want to mess with any of that stuff really today, which is good. And I'm also starting, like I was saying in my last video, that I was planning on doing a fast from or abstaining from cigarettes because cigarettes will help your appetite go down. It raises your blood sugar. So when you have low blood, people who smoke cigarettes, they wake up with this feeling of low blood sugar. They don't satisfy their craving with food or Tropicana orange juice or anything. So they smoke a cigarette and that raises their blood sugar. So people who have diabetes and everything need to eat chocolate. It's the same thing with a nicotine addict. They just need to raise their blood pressure. So I'm gonna have to be thinking a lot about that. That's why I had to cut the video or the lecture short last time because I really need to get into what I need to get into and everything with not doing drugs. So I've done mushrooms many times, acid many times, smoked weed more than I can count or even fathom. Smoke more cigarettes. Cigarettes is the next thing that comes to mind. I've been smoking cigarettes, buying packs of cigarettes since 2013, 2012, maybe 2012 even when I got my first job. I'm 24 now, in case you care. So yeah, and then alcohol too. I've been drinking alcohol proficiently. I was drinking alcohol on the weekends when I was playing football and stuff in high school. I basically quit football to smoke weed. I moved out to California to smoke weed, you know what I mean? Like my whole plan to go to college was to surround myself in an environment where weed would be applicable at all times. And the best idea for me, or the best idea for that to happen was to just go to California. And for people who live in California, I know it's not the same growing up in that type of environment. I grew up in an environment where you'd have to sell drugs illegally, buy drugs illegally, smoke drugs illegally, and all that stuff. I had a medical license, a prescription to actually smoke the marijuana I was smoking in California. So that's what made it so different. But overall, I don't have any desire to use anymore from cigarettes, marijuana, alcohol, and then the psychedelics, acid, and shrooms. And I know there's a lot more psychedelics out there that seem appealing to the eye, whether it's ayahuasca, dimethyltryptamine, DMT, LSD. Molly was a big thing around 2012 era. That was a big thing for me. I didn't want nothing to do with it, but I would do it anyway just to sort of appeal or conjugate a fall for me, whether it was to be in love, to be with friends that weren't really serving me, associates, constituents, however you would view this. It was never with my family. I relapsed in 2013 on alcohol with my family, but it was never really like that for me. I could always control myself around my family. I never had that desire. My parents smoked cigarettes before they had me, but when I was conceived in my mother's womb, she stopped smoking cigarettes. She would barely smoke cigarettes. She never smoked weed. She took shrooms once, but would probably drink. She's still been drinking on and off, but she doesn't even drink in the house anymore. My dad drinks. I've seen him drink as many times as I can count on 5 fingers. So, then it was with like people who were around me conflicted with suicidal ideations, mostly people wanting to commit suicide. I had to take my girlfriend to the hospital, for instance, when she was on heroin. Doctor said she had 3 minutes to live, so that was a big thing for me, getting off the heroin mostly. But then getting over that, it was like no problem for me to overcome anything else really. Or I should say, cigarettes weren't a big deal to me because I had just gotten off of heroin. Going from heroin to cigarettes isn't that bad of a transition. But going from marijuana to water fasting is a huge transition. And even marijuana to cigarettes to water fasting. Eating fast food up to 2 to 3 times, maybe 4 times a day, smoking marijuana to water fasting is a huge transition. I was able to make that transition in 2012. Mind you, my environment was very different. I was hitchhiking, sleeping outside, sleeping on beaches, cliffs, in the woods, in the cemetery. I was doing all sorts of natural endeavors and everything that were able to give me enough energy. I was also, walking an awful lot, drinking. I try to have 2 full gallons of water on me at all times, and this was what would motivate me and sustain my allegiance with doing the water fast. And so I completed the water fast, but went right back to smoking the marijuana. Before I even ate any food off of this water fast, I smoked marijuana. As soon as actually that time hitchhiking, I was offered marijuana. I started smoking it, and I was offered marijuana twice, maybe 3 times. 3 times actually, I was offered in this 45, maybe 60 days. I was traveling, but hitchhiking and sleeping, camping out basically. That's how many times I was offered marijuana. I smoked it every single time. I was also offered a pack of cigarettes, and I took the cigarettes as well. I never bought the cigarettes, never paid for the marijuana. Somebody bought some alcohol. I was in Portland, Oregon, and I get arrested. So, really, though, to stick to the topic, it's never really brought me any good. I got arrested, that day in Portland, Oregon for public drinking. My friend was trying to get to his stepmother's funeral. Not my friend, but, the guy I was traveling with, hitchhiking and everything, who introduced me to the guy who got me high. We get high, take this bus trip to Portland, Oregon. We're heading north. We're all in Oregon, trying to stay there. One guy's trying to set up a grow operation. The whole thing's just a complete mess. So it's a travesty, really, that I had to smoke that weed and break my fast doing it that way. Just the experience and everything were cool, but they weren't actual experiences. They were just artificial. I just artificially enhanced my experience, which I didn't want to do, but that's what really happened. So get arrested, you know, I've been arrested too. Well, the arrest could go on and on. I've been in jail at least 3 times in a jail cell, whether it was a drunk tank. I think I was in the drunk tank twice, and in an actual holding cell twice. Well, in a holding cell one time, and then in a jail cell, I had to spend the night in a jail cell one night. I was just sleeping the whole time. I had a dream. I had a dream while I was in jail when I woke up in a prison. That's one thing I learned in rehab is these guys from prison, they really, well, the one guy who did like 3 years in prison, he told me that he would just have dreams nonstop about actually being in prison. So I see myself kind of contained or in this situation that isn't a very good situation, but it's something that I need to get out of. So through how am I going to get out of it? How am I going to raise my consciousness, elevate myself to get away from, or actually learn from this trauma, not get away from the trauma, but learn from it. And that's just to do yoga, meditation, tai chi, mixed martial arts, breathing exercises, and Jesus, just all things that I can get into and have a lot of experience in. I'm not an expert in these things yet, but I am on my path. I am on my path. So And these are also the solutions and everything that I'm talking about, how to get out of mental illness. Anytime you're on the drugs and everything, you're gonna notice mental illness. All you really have to do, or if you have somebody in a, if you have a family member, you can relate. You can relay the same diagnosis just from being around a family member who, whether it has depression or hyperactivity disorder, like things of that. We can all, as human beings, we can all see that how these correlate in our lives, and we don't want to jive or liven up these experiences. We want these experiences to come down. So how to do that is through just start off with meditation. And I also want to do a video where I just show you guys that it is possible to just be still and just lose the illness. So not have these feelings, this hopelessness, helplessness, this sacrificial system isn't getting to you as much. And just medication can really cure this stuff. Medication, if not cure it, but make it so much easier, make life so much easier. But yeah, I mean, the topic is don't do drugs. The topic isn't drugs. First of all, these drugs are illegal. These drugs don't bring these drugs don't bring anything but destruction into people's lives. Whether it's marijuana, I'm trying to stay off saying cigarettes are drugs, because I mean I haven't done coffee. I don't do coffee. I haven't done coffee in a really long time. But then if you're, you know, there are these chemicals that you can get addicted to. The chemical in marijuana, which is well known as THC, and that's what you're actually addicted to. You're addicted to what the THC, the active ingredient in the marijuana that gives you the psychedelic experience. Cigarettes, tobacco can give you a psychedelic experience because you feel all of this stuff in your heart and it brings you down to your truest nature. If for a woman to smoke marijuana or tobacco, her energy goes upwards. So really, the dynamic between the difference between being a male and a female doing drugs is the dynamic will be more conscious in a female, whereas in a male, the experience will be more sexual. It'll be more loving and caring, and a lot of that's kind of like how hippies or these like even like a male guru can't even really be too loving and caring if he's not a smoker, if he's not a marijuana, cigarette, tobacco smoker. It's hard for people to bring down this energy and to really ground themselves. But I mean, meditation is the way for that, not medication. Meditation. So, and then detoxing too, through just talking, expressing yourself, going to these meetings, going to these groups, talking about expressing your problems and everything. This can help. I mean, these are things that are always going to be here. Going to a church is not always going to be here, maybe only on a Sunday or a Thursday or when you're at a funeral or something. And you don't want to be going to funerals. You want to be going to funerals with your head held high, with your shoulders, with your chest out and everything. You want to be able to help people. Don't be afraid to stick your chest out. That's it. It brings in good energy. It brings in strength. It brings in everything that is needed to grow, to get to your goal. You know, I don't want to know what your goal is. I want to know what it is you're about, how you're trying to improve your life and everything. So the main focus in your life should be how to maintain not to do drugs, like how to maintain staying away from coffee if coffee is your problem, staying away from cigarettes if cigarettes is your problem. Do I have to go to the gas station just for gas? Do I have to go to the gas station just to get juice to overcome that fear of not having to buy the cigarettes? Every time I'll go buy a pack of cigarettes, somebody else is buying a pack of cigarettes, man. It's just that's the way it works. It's called a disease. It's called the disease of addiction, and addiction is a disease. It's a dis-ease. It's a disharmony. It's going against. It's wanting to be immortal. It's wanting to be moralized. It's wanting to be undomesticated. All of these feelings like being knowing our mortality, that we're not going to live forever, and knowing that things aren't easy and that we're domesticated. that were bred in houses or hotels and were living in hotels or houses. And that's the beginning and the end. The beginning. It never stops. And it doesn't listen to you. It just keeps feeding you what you give it. So if you give it more power, if you give tobacco or marijuana or alcohol or coffee, caffeine, nicotine, whatever it is, if you give this stuff more power, it'll give you more power when you intake it. And that's the ideation. That's the thought, that's the illusion and everything coming into play. And that's something that you just don't want to deal with. You want to deal with what's not. You want to deal with what is when you are doing something that is proactive, activating your pineal gland, activating what's going on in your head. Are you hearing vibrations in your ears? Are you feeling like your friendships aren't working out, like your parents are going against you, like you're about to go to court and you might have to serve a lot of time in jail? Like what you're going to have to know is that you're going to have to incorporate practices like yoga, meditation into your life. You're going to have to fast a little bit. You're going to have to fast a little bit. You're going to have to get over why you're gonna have to get over your starvation, your hunger. I've heard so many times growing up these 24 past years, like I'm so hungry. Like how are you so like? And you get all of this social propaganda and stuff. I'm not saying it's propaganda. It's not all propaganda, but I know there's starving children. 30,000 people a day. Their kids, children under 5 die from starvation. And how can you bear that knowledge and listen to somebody else say they're starving? Well, that happens a lot in my home and around my environments and stuff. How do I deal with it? I don't deal with it. I just get through it. I go through the motions with people. If I'd have to go to work and watch people do their thing with their fast food or whatever, I'd do that, but I wouldn't really get into their business. It's not really right to say until you've actually established a firm relationship with people. That's not to say that you shouldn't be yourself. You should always be yourself, so long as you're doing the right thing, what you think is right. Listen to your intuition. Your intuition comes from the mind. Your intuition comes from the mind, and your mind, what is feeding your mind is what your heart's saying. So it is godly and just and spiritual to want to be yourself at all times, but you have to realize what you've gone through is not who you are. What you go through does not make up your person. That is just one time and place, one thing that wants to become you again. Again, you want to give something power because it knows the power feeds off of your starvation for it. So when that power comes to you, whether it's tobacco, fast food, alcohol, drugs, it's going to come into you and it's going to feed off of your fear. It's going to feed off of your basically your subconscious, because you're going to be unconscious of what you'll be messing around on a computer or watching TV or talking to someone on the phone, and you'll get off the phone and then something will just hit you, and then that desire will come into play. It's the desire that we're constantly dealing and determining is going to give us more power, because we know how much power it has in the world and you can just see it. And we want to get out of these places, these Babylonian places, these Babylonian times, these times where alcohol is in every shopping center, at every corner, or whatever, and marijuana is being sold in your house or your neighbor's house. These are times that are here to stay, but these don't always have to be a part of your life. You can move past these times. You can get away from the confliction. I mean, I'm sitting here telling you that I'm trying to fast for 21 days. I want to fast until the new moon. It's October 9th, 2016, about 12:30, me recording this right now, and I want to make it, to the 21 days that I'm talking about. I've watched a lot of videos. This is my first drink of the water, so I am, trying to document it and everything. But I mean, I'm basically just gonna drink water, just drink water. I'm not gonna worry about. I'm gonna messing around with crystals and magnets and everything, and I'm just gonna try to do it. Whatever comes my way, I'm gonna have to deal with it, just like everyone else has to deal with their problems. They're just spirituality. Spirituality is pain. Ego. A lot of people talk about ego. Ego is destruction. Ego is falling in line with everyone. It's falling unaware. We have to be aware, but not only have awareness, spiritual awareness, because that's the pain other people have. Empathy. You're an empath. You're empathetic. If you have any knowledge at all, you realize that there's no sympathy for others. So why is one to say that I should be on medication when they don't own my body, they don't own my vessel? Not to even say that I own my vessel. I don't own my vessel. So how can just somebody else in somebody else's body say that this body needs medication? It's not right when they're just because they're on medication. And if they're not on medication, it's even worse. It's even for the worse. So what's for the better? For the better would be just to meditate with people. It's just prayer after prayer after prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. It's just that, it's just that's what it is day after day for people. And it's not to say that's a bad thing. It's not to say that's a good thing. It's just that's what it is. That's just what it is for people. People people want prayer so much more than they want to just sit in silence. People don't want people don't want the silence because the silence scares people. The silence really scares people. Christians will say, Christians shouldn't even be saying they should be Christian. Christians shouldn't even say that they're Christian or proclaim Christianity because Jesus came to abolish religion. And that is a true story. Jesus came to abolish religion. I don't want to really get into the New Testament as much as I want to get into the Old Testament with you guys because I think it's important. It's important to me, so it must be important to you. But no, don't do drugs. Don't do drugs. Don't drink alcohol. Don't even smoke cigarettes. Like I have tobacco next to me right now, but I don't plan on smoking it anytime soon. I do plan on getting to the new moon and uh just getting through these times and everything. Because it's so it's so stressful. It can be really stressful. Life that is. It doesn't have to be. I truly say it doesn't have to be the way it is. But you know, drugs moved from a lot of drugs moved out of Europe. I think there's always been drugs in Africa and South America. Sort of tropical, these tropical places or places where there was a lot of livestock for the psychedelics. But these places that's what brought down a lot of these civilizations. Just history goes to show that drugs will bring down any civilization. If drugs brought you down, drugs brought me down. Drugs bring people down. Drugs don't bring people up. Drugs don't bring people together. Drugs bring people down, and that's when you fall. You fall in this simulation of love, but you're with a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and you love your drug more than you love your significant other. You love more than you love your wife, more than you love your husband, more than you love your family. You'd rather deal with being defeated internally with your drug than you would just being in confrontation for another 2 minutes. That's all I had to do earlier, but I didn't want that confrontation. I want you to want that confrontation. Like take that burden from me and just have that confrontation for a little while honorably, you know what I mean? Because it is everything we do, our nature is honor. That's why we feel the karma. We feel the the pain animals suffer, insects. I mean, we might take advantage of an insect, we might take advantage of a religious person, a spiritualist, because of what they believe in, but it's not what they believe in, it's just what they're programming their self with. A lot of people don't grow up with fathers. I mean, a lot of people who have fathers live or who live with their fathers don't grow up with a father because a father is constantly out doing work all the time. I don't really want to have a child if I'm going to be out doing work all the time. I want to actually raise my child up. But that's just not the case in society anymore. I mean, you have to constantly fight this battle with who you are and who you are unbecoming. You're unbecoming the person you wanted to be, and that's what's hard for people. It's hard for people to understand what's what's the right thing to do in life, you know. And there has to be people engaged in conversation every day. You know, these conversations every day and everything. You know, tell your kids not to do drugs. Tell your kids not to take stimulants or supplements. You know, don't stimulate or supplement your life. Feed your life with positivity. Feed your life with abundance, prosperity. Have all of the good things that the Bible or the Quran or any of these other. I don't know much about the Quran, but the Bhagavad Gita talks about a Lord who is above this warrior, and the warrior doesn't want to fight his family because there was a division in the family, and he would have to eventually go to war with his brother, with his own flesh and blood, and he didn't want to do it, but he was constantly being mentored by Lord Krishna, Lord Shiva. I think it was Lord Krishna, but you know, this was not only the battle he had to serve personally himself, but the battle between good and evil that God was teaching him. So you have to reach out to more than just what is being applied to you for the initial moment. This is why you need to meditate on things. Meditation will help you be yourself more. You'll be able to you'll be able to be yourself more than you already were. If you just sit, you know, in silence, just sit. And when it's light or when it's dark out or when it's dark, you know, just turn off the lights and just sit. You know, you can have your fingers like this and everything, and just let all the background stimulation just pass you by. And that's what it is. I mean, it's all stimulation. You have to realize that your mental illness, your mental illness is a lot of trauma from the past that is subconscious, and it comes into fruition through dreams and everything. The problems in this world will never really be solved until we start paying attention to our dreams, which is why when you abstain, when you say even when you have even the intention to abstain from drugs or alcohol, cigarettes, coffee, you start having dreams about this stuff. You start realizing how dependent you really are on this stuff. And in mental health and everything in recovery, people want to talk about, well, we're dependent on, you know, we're dependent on, you know, we have codependency issues. A a drug has codependency with you too. If you don't use the drugs, I mean, if everybody just stopped using the drugs, stopped smoking crack, in order for crack to be in a society, people have to be using the crack. If there's no demand for it, then there's no demand for it. So we, you know, our what we buy is our vote. You know what I mean? If you buy cigarettes, if you buy alcohol, you want those things to to stay in society. If you buy water, you want water to stay in society. You know what I mean? If you pay the water bill, you want water to stay within a society. So it is true what vegans say, about meat eating and everything. That's just an example, though. Not to say to go vegan. Go at your own pace. I would honestly, I mentioned, fast food is bad in the story, but meat, they're meat to get off meat, buy yourself good meat. Ask your parents if they can start buying you fish. Ask your parents if they can start buying like sirloin steaks. I started smoking natural American Spirit to want to get off cigarettes. If you're smoking Marlboros, go to NAS, go to Natural American Spirit, go to NOS. That goes for any cigarettes really. Natural American Spirits are what should be smoking, what should be smoked if you're smoking. Because you don't go into a liquor store and get like the healthiest liquor. You gotta buy a bottle of Hennessy just to say that that's what you're doing. People who smoke cigarettes usually every day. People buy cartons. Cigarettes are a very big issue. They've always been a big issue for me. Job I had, whatever job I had, wherever I've gone, they've always been a huge issue. Just contingent upon me feeding it and feeding it and feeding it. You know what I mean? Just giving it more power, time and time again, and it would never stop. It would never stop. But buy some headphones. You know what I mean? Buy some headphones. Listen to your iPod. Lay out in the grass. It's not summer. Just go for walks. Go for walks and stuff. But you got to be able to meditate before you can do anything. Before you can start really, because if you are one of those people, you keep having dreams, waking up, being in your room and stuff. You want to be traveling. Buddhism Buddhists refer to like dream traveling and everything. They call these worlds lokas. You want to go to different worlds. If you're waking up, like this one dream I had. I could talk about dreams, drug dreams I had all day. This kind of relates to it because there was a lot of people. It just felt like it was a meeting in my backyard, in the room I'm in right now, in the backyard right there. And I got shot. Before I get shot, in my dream, I go outside the window, my room window, and I just see all these people, and then I wake up in my body again, and it was like back to back to back, um, you know, and it was just crazy. But it goes to show me, yeah, getting shot, and then like going through space and seeing like what looked like a Grateful Dead like cartoon or something, just like teddy bears. But it was an astral travel experience. I had another astral travel experience, but you have to you have to get people to understand you when you have a dream. You have to put your dreams out there. That's why you have to have a dream journal. Because when you have these dreams, something is calling you, something is pulling you from your body. If we were all perfect little God's children, we wouldn't be having dreams. We would just go to sleep, wake up, go to sleep, wake up. I didn't start dreaming until I had this absolutely huge football game to play. And my first dream I ever had, I talked about it. Like your first dream, first time you have a dream, try to remember the first time you ever had a dream. Like try to remember your first dream. I don't think it's that hard. It wasn't hard for me because, you know, I remember it. I remember it vividly. But what I'm saying is people can induce dreams. People who you surround yourself, they induce these dreams. If you go to work a lot, you start dreaming about the people you have. If you go to really, that's the only time you should really be communicating out is if you had the dream the night before. Because you'll remember that you had a dream, and even if you don't remember your dream that much, it's important for you to get to extinguish, to detox that stuff out because you're actually vibrating at a higher frequency. You're being pulled by something and you don't even know it. People who aren't dreaming will understand the circumstances you're under. They will, because we're all naturally empathetic. We're all naturally people of morality. We all have this moral code built into us, into our DNA helix. So when that comes into play, when you have a dream and something the night before, the day before pulled you somewhere, it's pulling you for a reason. It's pulling you because it's trying to show you something. But it is real. It is very real. It's what's going on in the brain and your pineal gland. So you could have an artificial experience like on acid. I had an artificial experience where I thought there was a spider crawling up the wall and I was just like playing with its energy and it would like move. It was kind of like dancing with me, but it wasn't real. You know what I mean? I know you can get addicted to acid and to marijuana, which fortunately I never did, nor shrooms. Those were the three main psychedelics that I was messing with. You can get highly addicted to these drugs, and you can just start losing. You can start just losing. Anything you get addicted to isn't going to be very helpful. But you can't. You can get addicted to buying crystals, like my friend from Florida bought. I mean, he had so many crystals, and then he bought like a $10,000 tattoo. There's these spiritualists who will just go hard and hard and hard, you know what I mean? And no offense, but I don't want to be really that into anything. I mean, I'll drink water, I'll do yoga, and I'll meditate. Just leave that to me. And you do whatever you want to do, but I suggest that you start drinking the water, meditating, and doing yoga. Just to improve your health, improve your health overall, because you'll just see yourself getting better and better and better. And it won't. Improvement never stops, and it's never too late to improve your life. People just get so caught up and then they make the excuse, well, I've been doing this for 50 years, or my grandma's over, she's almost 80, I've been eating bad foods and now I have to go on medication, or my grandfather's been drinking alcohol for almost 80 years. It's just a lie, you know what I mean? But your will break down. Your will break down the older you get. But the more open you are to new experience, the more open you are to a new experience. I can't remember the last time I walked in my backyard without smoking a cigarette, and I'm about to do that. I'm about to do that for the first time. But I'm telling you what, I've not stepped foot outside my backyard without smoking a cigarette in a very long time. And I'm about to do that. I truly am about to do that. So the message is hope, but it's hear other people's experience. It's help others, or hold on, peace exists. Help others, help other people evolve. You know what I mean? That's hope. Um, so it's trusting God first, but it's helping others and then cleaning the house. I have a whole room to clean and everything. But yeah, don't do drugs. I mean, don't do drugs. And if you are drinking alcohol, or someone who's drinking alcohol, tell them about these things. Tell them about Alcoholics Anonymous. Tell them about Narcotics Anonymous. And then the people with mental illness, just tell them they have no chance if they start doing drugs, because these people are very tricky, or not to say the collection, but the collection of people who are talking, like, speaking about mental illness. They know nothing of what a person mentally ill goes through. These people don't have these people haven't been diagnosed with mental illness. So these people who are saying, well, cigarettes will help your schizophrenia. It'll help the voices in your head calm down. It won't. It's just another addiction. Coffee, just like coffee. It's just gonna overall hurt your body more. Overall, give you, make you lose consciousness, grow gray hairs, lose bone structure and everything. So I mean, it's very important to be aware. It's very important to be aware of your surroundings, what you're doing, and your dreams. If you're dreaming, it means you gotta express yourself. You gotta vocalize. Use the oral tradition a little bit more than normal. So if you're dreaming, and that goes for anything. Just try to figure something out. Like figure out what it is. Figure out how you can incorporate yoga, meditation, and fasting, drinking lots more water in your life. Figure these things out. Try to just manhandle the dis-ease, the discomfort, and everything. You know, and spiritual matters will come into play. You'll be able to travel to different worlds and have these lucid dreams that you've never had before. You know, and I'm excited for the opportunity to uh, to have these experiences too. I'm excited to move forward in my life. I'm excited to be a part of society in the way that I've always wanted to be a part of society. I mean, nobody's starving to death in the United States of America. There's not one person that's starving to death in the United States of America unless they're doing it to themselves, unless they're that anorexic or they have that much they've creamed their metabolism that far to have to, you know, muscular dystrophy, like just instill so much personal atrophy upon themselves. People are not starving to death in in the United States of America. So you or I really have no right in telling anyone that they need to go get a job because the only reason we have jobs, I mean, we make more, us, Europe, Australia, Asia. I mean, not Asia. Don't include Asia in that because you're worried. I mean, you're very young when you're working and everything in Asia. I know that, but nobody really has the right to tell you that you need a job if you need food. If you need food, if you somebody that's just completely irrelevant. So don't there shouldn't be any more. Just go get a job over the internet, especially when that person has a disability, is going through a lot of stuff or an addiction. You know, they have if they have mental illness or an addiction, that you don't need to tell that person to get a job. You need to help that person. You know, though it's all this. Well, you need help. Like, well, why don't you help that person? You know what I mean? Why can't that person help me? Like, why does it always have to be, well, you need help? Well, why can't you just help me? You know what I mean? I always get that. I always get um I need help. Well, I get that I need help, but why are you telling me I need help when you could just help me? No one, no one is starving to death in the United States of America, the country I live in, Northern Virginia, exactly where I live. No one is starving to death, so there shouldn't even be any argument to tell some person to go get a job when they can't even eat. You need to feed that person. That should be, don't rest until everybody is fed. Should be the motto. Should be the United States motto. I mean, I don't know if it's in God we trust or what the United States motto is, but I know that needs to change. People telling bums on the street begging for change to go get a job. That doesn't need to happen anymore. That shouldn't happen. It won't happen because people will wake up. I mean, people will get out of this whole chaotic illusion, American dream scheme that's being played on their ass. People will get out of that. It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time before there's vegan homeless, there's vegan homelessness, you know what I mean? And churches are opening up the doors, the real doors to people. Because I mean, what you hear in a church from the preacher, you better off going to a Buddhist monastery. Never been to a mosque, but I'd like to go to a mosque, but just to talk to some real religious people, some people who can actually tell you about their life more so than just feed you finite like feed you this finite reality that like is for everyone, because that reality is not for everyone. You can't just tell someone to go get a job because they just want to express themselves over the internet. these people don't have internet. These kids, these $30,000 a year, 5-year-olds and 5-year olds less than that. Like they're not even able to do it. Like what are they able to do? They can't. You can't tell those people to go get a job. But you are talking for those people when you tell somebody else to go get a job. So don't tell that person, that person you want to call a bum on the streets to go get a job. That's just not right. It's just not right. You know what I mean? It's just very messed up. You know what I mean? So, women need to be mothers and men need to be fathers. That's how it always is. But there's nothing wrong with having a chemical imbalance in your head. You just can't fry yourself from acid, from smoking marijuana, doing all these things, condoning it for your nephews, your nieces. You can't be that type of person. You don't want to be that person just because you have a different political view or view of gender, philosophy, whatever it is you have. You definitely have a different philosophy in life. You turn 25 already. You just have to incorporate a higher value system in your life. That's all you have to do. But that is what you are going to do, regardless if you don't follow it anyway. If you decide to do drugs or condone drugs for other people, you're gonna cause mass chaos in your life and other people's lives around you too. I mean, that's just the way of the world. That's how it works. Once you meditate, you'll learn so much more about yourself. But you always have something to go back on. You won't have suicidal thoughts, man. And if you were doctrinated through meditation and everything, well, that's a different story. Like I know there's people out there who are putting the word out there and everything who are indoctrinated with meditation, but Catholic meditation, Catholicism is not meditation. Doing the meditation that the nuns teach you in a Catholic school is not meditation. It may be meditation to them. It just isn't the right meditation for you because anything you're indoctrinated in isn't really the right thing for you. Like, for instance, being on YouTube or watching TV, these things can act as a doctrination, something that wants you to keep something that pulls you in, pulls you under, and helps you sleep at night. But these things need to go too. All of this stuff needs to go, and all of this stuff will go. It's all temporary. You're gonna die one day. That's a reality check. But it's not to say take the bitter end of the blender. You know what I mean? Work with it and work with what you have to incorporate a better style or flow or whatever it is you have to get over broke, to get over that hump. You know what I mean? So it's Sunday. People are going to be back to church, back to work on Monday, but they're going to be watching sports. They're going to be watching the National Football League. You know what I mean? Just a huge money hungry business. And something that some mantra that we should incorporate into our lives is, we should not need money. And if we have money, we should give it away. Any money we have is debt in the first place. Women don't understand it, or else the women I know don't understand this. The women that I've known don't. The woman that I knew, Tracy, who didn't understand this. It's very, very left brain thinking, and you can understand what left brain thinking is. I mean, you've learned about what the left brain and the right brain, the difference is, what they're like when they come together. So money is important, but it's not the most important thing. Money can be eliminated. You don't need money. There you go. That's connecting the left and the right hemispheres. That's all it is. And when you're meditating, you're still thinking about drugs and everything. You're still thinking about coffee, cigarettes, whatever it is you do. If you're in Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous, you're thinking about food. You're stimulating your reality when you could just create your own reality through the internet. Through music, whatever it is. What if you don't have the internet? What do you have? You have music. You have the oral tradition, but then you have to have something to participate in with other people, because with the internet we're all participating in something. And if you go, like, what is the first thing that comes to mind when you use the internet? It's probably music. For a lot of people, I know it's music. A lot of people just uh, get their music off the internet. So yeah, I mean, I know I got a long way to go. I know I got a journey to go on, but you got a journey to go on too. We all do. But the choices you make today will, you know, decide your future. So it's very important to keep what I'm saying in mind and to revisit and, just see how you're doing, because somebody else somebody else might need your help, but you won't be able to help that person without my help. I mean, that's how the triangle works. You know what I mean? That's how it all comes together eventually. So it would be important to create a channel just so you can at least start commenting on videos. I never even uh, had commented on a video before I had made my first video. The first video I ever made when I was smoking tons of marijuana was about what I was seeing in my vision. My vision wasn't totally clear, and I didn't know if I was seeing like angels or something was wrong with my eyes or something, but I just was curious. And then the next thing you know, I'm self-diagnosing myself. You don't want to self-diagnose yourself. It just, it's like punking in a way, pranking. It's like a prank if someone comes up to me and talked about, mental illness, and they've never been diagnosed with mental illness. They don't know what it's like. That's the type of person that could tell a bum on the street to go get a job. Maybe not that far, but not the person who's giving money or food or anything to that homeless person, which I've done a lot this year, more so than any year I have in my life. That when the opportunity grants itself, give something to that homeless person, give that person a business card or something, just something tangible to help them move along. I mean, homelessness is the real problem that we should be dealing with, and the root of homelessness, the way I see it, is mental illness. And the root of mental illness is really these drugs, alcohol included, caffeine, cigarettes included. People don't need this stuff. Give somebody an apple, give somebody a Cliff Bar, give somebody a gallon of water. The more you give people money, the less people really have. The less people really have. You know, So you got to understand that. You got to understand a lot about people's mentalities, how they don't see everything you may see or don't see, and that's what causes people to want to use drugs. People use drugs because they don't have anything else except for those drugs. That's what I was telling my mom earlier. People just get attached to drugs. As like people get attached to other people. So in order to detach from the drugs, you have to realize what it is you want in life. And by realizing, you have to understand that your life is a lie and that you have been beaten down. I mean, why would you be here? I mean, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't that way. You wouldn't be listening to what I have to say if it wasn't that way. There's a reason you're listening to this message. And it's because you want purpose in life. You want to make the correct actions that you know you should make in life, but you can't. So you pray, or you study a religious text, or you take some class, or you have to drive. You go on some vacation or something, but that's not always the answer. The answer is in the silence. The answer is in you. I mean, do you want to be one of these people who just always questions like whether or not they should have had the belief in Jesus, and if they had that belief, and if you had that belief in Jesus, you'd be saved and go to heaven, or if you didn't, you'd burn for eternity in hell, or Jesus would return and destroy your family, destroy your life? Or do you want to be? Because I mean, seriously, this is the way I see it. These are the only two options. Or do you want to participate in a spiritual way and try to get out of keep continuing to having these spiritual dreams, these dreams where you're just getting pulled and pulled out of your body, because you will die one day and your body will decompose. The flesh, teeth, and the eyes and everything will decompose, and it's up to you to decide who you need in your life, who you want in your life to help you through these situations. And do you want to rely on psychedelic mushrooms, magic mushrooms? LSD, marijuana, cigarettes, tobacco, spliffs, MDMA, Molly, ecstasy, cocaine, speed, coke, amphetamines, heroin, because that's all that really drives these big cities. These big cities are driven by that stuff. And then you go to the country and you just have people in churches and everything. But you will get fed. I mean, yeah, people die in the wilderness. People die in the wilderness, that's for sure. Like these natural habitats and everything. But I mean, if you're in the city and you got to get out to go to work and everything, try one of these Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous meetings, Overeaters Anonymous meetings. I know they'd be everywhere in New York, be everywhere in Baltimore, be everywhere in Miami, be everywhere in Atlanta. I just got back from Atlanta for mental health. I mean, these so-called health centers are abundant. There's so many hotlines, but people just want to go on hotlines for sex, or people just want to go on hotlines for drugs. So, I mean, these aren't the right people to be hanging around with. That stuff isn't right. Taking shrooms and everything in the like our perspective of the '60s. I know nobody watching this isn't earlier born earlier than the '60s, and if you are, I'm surprised, but you know, um, that whole phase and everything. These Timothy Learys and Terrence McKenna's or Joe Rogan's talking today about this stuff. Like this stuff shouldn't really be going or having that much attention. This stuff it shouldn't. These people shouldn't be having attention. There shouldn't have been so much attention on Barack Obama for inhaling marijuana. Everyone is inhaling marijuana, and people are getting locked up for 5 years because of it. I almost got locked up for 5 years because of magic mushrooms. You know what I mean? I was never in any legal trouble. I never got arrested with the weight on me, but I had that type of weight that could have gotten me arrested for that much stuff. So it's just crazy. It's just crazy, and people are afraid to speak out over the internet. Are you kidding me? People will be people. People will be people, but somebody's not gonna start investigating you just because you're being honest with your problems. That's why I'm saying like if you don't have the time to go to these meetings or you don't think it's right to get your child involved in mental health, we'll talk about your issues. Protect yourself. The talking protects ourselves. That's why we use anger, or people mistake our anger as passion. Well, we're not passionate about the right thing if we're trying to change people, because the only way anybody will respect you or respect a change in themselves or respect an idea to change in themselves is if you're changing yourself. But you can't outright just talk to people about them changing. You just can't anymore. There's no honor. People say there's no honor in the YouTube videos because comments aren't being left, or there's no contact or any network being propelled by the situation. But I don't really see that as an impossibility. I just see that as something to strive for. We shouldn't strive for so much argumentation, or we shouldn't strive to say, well, it's okay to sell drugs in a state where it's not legal, or to sell drugs in a church. You know what I mean? Like, well, who would sell drugs in a church? And I know drugs have been sold in a church before, but it's the way of the world. The change has to come from within, but you can't be scared, and you have to do something. And if you watch these videos, you have the desire to make videos. I mean, you do. I used to watch movies, and that's why I said I wanted to become an actor when I was very young. Before I wanted to become a firefighter, I never wanted to become a firefighter. I wanted to become an actor so I could make a lot of money. But yeah, I mean, now I just want to make life better for myself, and if I make my life better, I make your life better. You know, if you make your life better, you make my life better. So, I mean, people just have to band together. You know, this is why I want to create this network and everything. People just have to band together. You know, I'm not saying I'm going to be moving a lot or traveling a lot. I just want to stay in one place, do my thing, make it hurt, get through the pain, study, learn, move on, you know, continually move forward and move on from people that I don't need in my life anymore. And you should want to do the same thing. You shouldn't want to, you know, carry guns and sell drugs and be that type of person. You should want to move on from all of that stuff. You know, Lil Wayne is not God. Eminem is not God. Like these people, they said it. They have no love. They have no love for us. No love for us. So, I mean, I know we can just get above time and transcend all of this stuff, but it's just a matter of when. It's just a matter of when we do. 'Cause the illusion is real, the religious are real, the spiritual are real, the mentally ill are real, the homeless are real, you know, and the money is real, the times are real. So I love you. Um, I'm gonna keep trying to make these videos longer, you know, but these aren't really solutions yet. Yeah, I haven't really gotten into like solutions and stuff for this for what I'm talking about, but I do want to get into the solutionatory, the solution stages of what I'm actually getting at and everything. So I love you. I do. Again, thank you for watching. I thank you for listening. I hope you tune into more of my videos, my broadcastings, and everything. And I hope I give you a better idea of what this is all about. And remember, when I say hope, it's hear other people's experiences, help other people, or hold on, peace exists, and help other people evolve. You know, that's what hope is to me. You know, LUV, love is let us vibrate. So let us vibrate, baby. But no, yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome doing what you do, and you know, getting peaceful nights rest. You know, and waking up and being the true child of your parents and what you're creating and everybody wants you to be. But when you're stuck doing these dreams and everything, we got to be going far because that's when we can really do some damage to the system. And it's not good to be violent towards anything, but to be as special as we truly are, that is what we're capable of. We are capable of superpowers in dreams, but that's real. That's very real. So it's just, you know, how far are you willing to travel? How far are you willing to go down the rabbit hole? So that's what it is. Love you.